So we celebrate the wins, we're gonna share in the losses. Bank of America denied me for a recent application for a business credit card with them. I wanna share with you the details of that denial, let you know exactly where I was, what the reasons for denial were, the bureaus that they pulled the information from. And I want to give you this information so if you are on anywhere near a similar journey, whether that's credit card stacking, whether that's just points and miles and you're into the business credit card side, or you're actually looking for capital for your small business and you're applying for that reason, whatever the case may be, I want to give you this information firsthand so you can use it to hopefully minimize your chances of a denial and have a better insight on the way these banks are making adjustments and how they're functioning in the current economic climate. So stay tuned in to the end. Now, what I want to do is give you a sequence of what was not the issue, and then I want to read the adverse action letter that I received that lays out what was the issue and the denial with this situation. I want to give you some context on where I was as well at the time of this application as far as my data points, and I want to give you some context on how I plan on coming back around and having better success with Bank of America in a moderately near future. So before we get into those details, let me give you the intro and a little bit of insight on an opportunity for you to support this channel and actually make a solid return on your money doing so. Check it out. Okay, before we get back on top, you have some excess capital that your bank's no longer paying you that same return on. Now the interest rates are down and you're looking for a stable, purposeful, and profitable place to invest your money. What if I told you you can support one of your favorite content creators whilst they're earning a respectable return on your money? Yeah, that's right. The platform sponsoring this video is called Oversubscribe. It's a SEC regulated platform that's connecting the audience and the creator like never before. It's an opportunity for you to invest in this channel and share in the profitability in this channel as it grows. There's no commitment right now, but there's a link in the description. You want to learn more? Fill out the quick form and let's get in motion. Okay, so if you've been focused on stacking credit cards for whatever reasons, whether that be personal or business side, especially on the business side, this will be more familiar for you, then you're going to have a handful of things in mind that you may be thinking when it comes to a denial for a business credit card. And I'm going to dispel a pretty decent chunk of those for you right now. So the first issue was not related to my personal credit score or profile. Well, maybe one caveat on the profile, but we'll get to that in a moment. So generally speaking, the credit score or overall credit profile was not the issue. The business's name, address, or industry was not an issue. That's right, the NAICS code was not an issue in this situation. We also did not have a situation where I had any negative banking history with Bank of America. That was not an issue as well. So that just may be a handful of things that you may have been thinking when you thought about a denial, especially around a business credit card. It gets a little deeper than that, and that's why this video is going to be valuable, because I want to give you guys context, live, up-to-date information on how these bigger banks are functioning and honestly, in my opinion, kind of tightening up. So we're going to start with the 4 reasons for the denial. Then we're going to dive into the bureaus. I'm going to also cover the credit score that I had at the time of this application, and we'll go from there. So basically the letter describes, we consider the information you provided, your relationship with us, information from your credit reporting agencies or current economic trend. Interesting. You see that? Or current economic trends. We weren't able to approve your request because, number 1, your business credit report reflects the length of time since newest commercial card opened is too short. So let's put some context around this given my actual information. I have been accumulating credit cards on the business side aggressively for about 14 months now at the time of this recording, which is probably going to come out sometime in November of 2024. I've been at this pretty heavily since about August, maybe somewhere around even June, maybe you're closer to 16 months back, pretty heavily since June of 23. And I wanted to highlight going back to the economic trend sector, because you have to remember, this is the toughest time for these banks in years. When it comes to the interest rate environment, the tightening, the economic instability, political instability affecting the economic factors, this is a very interesting and awkward time for financial institutions, and they are also experiencing significant fraud and other issues that has them more leery and less flexible than they've been in the past. So the number 1 reason, again, my business credit report reflects the length of time since newest commercial card open is too short. I have been opening cards in the last handful of months. Now, most recently, it's going to be approximately 4 months back, the last time I went into a little bit of a spree. So maybe for Bank of America, again, tighter than normal, that was a bit much. The next one is going to be an important one I cover constantly on this channel. And I know you're going to sit back after hearing this and think, JP, how the hell did you let this happen when you are the king of relationship banking? Well, this one is going to be something I have to slap myself on the wrist for, but I took a chance because I knew my personal credit score and profile and basic business data was pretty solid. But limited or no deposit or investment balances with us or our affiliates. I'm going to run that second one by you again. Limited or no deposit or investment balances with us and or our affiliates. Let me clarify before you start to throw tomatoes on the stage. I do have an active personal relationship with Bank of America. If you've been following my content, I kind of did a video on that recently where I explained how I started my banking relationship with Bank of America and how I plan on scaling it up to have success with them when it comes to applying for lending products. Well, maybe it's been a bit premature because my relationship with them is a personal savings account at the time of this recording. There's no personal checking and there's no business products at all. No business savings, no business checking. Now it's on the horizon. My goal is to go in person, which they are not in my state. That is another factor that has slowed down my growth of the relationship. I established this relationship online. I went to a branch in Dallas to kind of solidify things further. And I plan on going back to either Dallas or another major city where they are and doing more business with them on the deposit side. And that includes establishing a business deposit relationship. But at the time of this application, I did not have any business deposit relationship. And it's the number 2 reason on this adverse action letter. So I tell you guys all the time about relationship banking. I hope this drives it home. The next one is kind of weak, but we'll go with it. It's 1 or more inquiries on your credit file. So I'm going to assume that they're leaning on the personal side when they say this because business inquiries are not typically counted in very much. But my TransUnion is the report that they pulled, and I'm going to give you some more details on that in a second. At the time of the application, maybe I had about 8 or 9 total inquiries over the last 2 years. And maybe about 2 or 3 of those were fresh, as far as maybe 6 to 9 months or less. So not that aggressive. Honestly, I think this one was pushing it, but they didn't like it. So we'll go with it. The 4th reason on this list is your business credit reports reflect low payment amounts on 1 or more of your commercial card accounts. So this is interesting, and I'm going to give you a little bit more details about the bureau that they likely got this information from in a moment. But this one is fascinating because this is one of those major factors we all lean on in the finance and credit space when we talk about business credit cards, is the fact that, carrying a balance and, history of that nature, as long as you're paying on time, is hidden and is advantageous because it allows you to get access to capital and transact that money even at a high level and not have it report anywhere that can hurt you. That's one of the most attractive things about business credit cards. This is kind of knocking on the door, nudging against that. I'm going to give you some details on why I say partially in a second, but this is a very important one to understand. If you're playing this game around business credit cards in particular, it is not completely hidden. This is proof. They are able to get this data from a particular bureau that is covering all of the 3 major bureaus. So it's important to understand that how you're managing your other cards, even on the business side, is relevant. Now, mind you, I'm doing a pretty good job. I do have balances across several business cards. It's intentional. I'm using it as capital to kind of scale up my business operation. And the goal is to continue to play that game as my revenue in the business stabilizes. So nothing out of the ordinary there. I guess in their opinion, the payments that I've been making, which have been above the minimum payments for sure, but they haven't been enough for them to be comfortable with lending me out a business credit card or any other business lending product at this time. So fair enough. So you have the 4 major reasons popping up for you right here, letting you know what I ran into. As you can see, almost nothing conventional you would think around personal credit scores, personal credit profile, income issues, projected revenues, business name, address, NAICS code, etc., etc. It's none of those common things you would be looking for in a denial letter. So this is, to me, a really good indicator that Bank of America is really tight at the moment. And I'm going to give you additional reasons why, but let me give you the 2 bureaus that they pulled their data from. Number 1, TransUnion. I already kind of dropped that one out when I spoke on the inquiries. They pulled from TransUnion. Business credit reporting information pulled from Lexus Nexus Risk Solutions. This is big. This is where they got the business data about how long I've had a commercial, or recent I've had a commercial card. And this is where they got the information about me making payments on those cards and not being sufficient enough amounts for them to feel comfortable. Lexus Nexus. You may have heard of this if you're deep enough in the personal finance space, but if you're not, and this is relatively new, or you've only heard about it in passing and don't have details, look at Lexus Nexus as the overlord of the credit bureau space, basically meaning that all reported data from personal bureaus and business bureaus funnels up to Lexus Nexus. Lexus Nexus has a ton of personal data on each and every one of us, and I mean all types of personal data. Very, very, very dense data collection entity, and clearly they have a small business division that is also collecting data. Now, I'm gonna tell you something else interesting about this. This is also gonna be more proof that as information is put out on the internet, like, the constant advocating for business credit cards, hiding transactional information, this is interesting because this demonstrates that banks are now not just relying on these 3 bureaus, knowing that these bureaus are not collecting business credit data. Lexus Nexus is like the center hub or the mothership of all of this information. And banks, at least Bank of America's size of an institution, are going as far as pulling Lexus Nexus reports and finding out about this data. This is not TransUnion that reported my business data. This is Lexus Nexus. So very important to understand that these banks are making adjustments. I'm sure they've always pulled Lexus Nexus, but to the extent right now where they're digging into the business credit information and business data to give a denial like this is fascinating. Very, very fascinating. So please document this along the way. Don't think that you can mismanage your business credit cards and nobody's gonna know about it or care, because that's not the case. Mines are not in the worst shape in the world by any means, but the balances are reasonably high. I'm making my payments above the minimum, but it's not like, paying them off in full every month at this time. So this is just somebody who's maybe slightly over leveraged in their eyes and not making big enough payments at the time. And that's still too much for them. Now, to drive home why I believe that Bank of America and other financial institutions are tighter than they've been before, this is going to get into the credit score disclosure portion on the back side of this form, which goes over my FICO score at the time of the application. 794. TransUnion, 794 FICO score. Literally, for all intents and purposes, a perfect credit score. Like, it doesn't get much better. Yes, numerically you can flex with an 800 plus, but when it comes to brackets that credit scores fall into, as far as what's good, great, excellent, poor, etc., a 794 is as good as an 850. When you look at that and you also see, other than inquiries, no other arguments on my personal credit profile, which there wouldn't be, all utilization is well under 10%. I have great comparable credit. My personal debt load is significantly low compared to my income, etc. I am polished on the personal side. Bank of America still did not feel comfortable. It's getting tight. It has been tight and it is still tight. I wanted to bring this content to you guys because, again, I want to share the ups and downs of this journey. We're not going to cry. We're not going to whimper. We're going to take this information and make improvements. So my goal is, for one, obvious first one that's going to get knocked down is establishing a solid business relationship with Bank of America on the deposit side. I'm going to establish a business checking account and business savings account incrementally in the near future with Bank of America. I'm going to take care of the inquiries because a lot of them are business related or they're over a year and some change and on their way to falling off anyway. So the inquiry situation will resolve itself. Just time is going to heal that top reason of the most recent commercial card being open too short or too soon. That's going to heal with time. I'm going to kind of let things cool off for some months, maybe out to 6 months. And then the last one is going to be the amount of payments I'm making on my existing commercial accounts. That is going to be taken care of with time as well. As revenue increases and stabilizes, these are also 0% balances that I'm dealing with. So it's not like there's interest to worry about. That's the whole point of this game in the first place. So I'm going to knock down all 4 of these in a very short window of time. I'm looking at about a 6-month window of time, give or take. So that puts us into March or April of 2025. And we're going to revisit Bank of America at that time after I've expanded the relationship and taken care of some of these bumps and bruises that they weren't so favorable on. I'm also going to make an effort to pull my Lexus Nexus data. I tried to do this earlier in the year, couldn't get the verification completed effectively, and I just kind of got away from it. but I would love to see what they have on me on the personal and business side, and I'll share that data when I collect it as well. Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on this. This is a very interesting one. Hopefully more of you stuck through on this one. A lot of interesting data on this because, again, I am in a very good financial shape on the personal and honestly on the business side, and they still found 4 reasons to say no, not even to extend a low limit start. They literally just didn't have it in them to offer. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about Bank of America, your experience with Bank of America. Let me know what you think about the data that I have given you as far as where they pulled from, etc. Comment down below. To all my pioneers, welcome back. To my new viewers, welcome in. I want each of you to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Support the channel so the channel can continue to support and reinvest back into you. Speaking of investing, you heard earlier in the video, and if you've been following my content, you've heard recently, there's a phenomenal, revolutionary way for you to actually support me as one of your favorite content creators while actually sharing in the revenues and profits of this channel as it continues to grow. The channel has only been managed part-time, and we're already growing to the heights that have been achieved so far. If you want to share in that growth going forward and not find another one of your favorite content creators taking off that you wish you could have shared in their revenue and their growth on their way up, then check the link in the description below. It's a no obligation, quick fill out form down there. It'll bring you to a website with some additional details. You can put your interest level in, and we'll put this campaign together so we can all grow in our revenue and our net worth together. I want each of you to stay focused, stay in motion. I'll see y'all soon.